What's going on, yo? Welcome back to basketball. And you know what? You know what I think we should do today? I say, let's talk about the Utah Jazz offseason. That's right, we're back on the spreadsheets. I know you guys have been missing the spreadsheets. If you guys aren't already, go join the Discord. About a week or two ago, I was talking on the Discord and people were like, AVC, I can't wait to go be back in Ideal Offseason series. Basically, Ideal Offseason was one of the biggest series. No, it's definitely the biggest series that I did on YouTube. Where actually is it on here? Ideal Offseason. If you go and look at this playlist, it's got definitely my most viewed videos, like consistently, like way more views. I don't see anyone else doing it on YouTube. I think it's a lot of fun. We're definitely going to do it again this next year, but I'm like, dang, we're still like a month or two away from getting to that, and I want to get back into the spreadsheet. So you know what? I made a new series where, you know what? We're going to do a little bit of prep for Ideal Offseason. For those of you that are new to the channel, Ideal Offseason is a series where we basically simulate what an ideal offseason would look like for each and every NBA team. We talk about trades, what kind of roster moves they should make. We go through and do a draft, all of that stuff, and kind of build out what we think would be an ideal scenario for the team going through the offseason. We try to make it as realistic as possible. It's a lot of fun, and I wanted to try to build on that this year. So this is kind of the prep phase. We're not going to do every single team in this series, but what I want to do is explore the teams that are kind of in limbo right now, right? Like the Utah Jazz. They're in last place in the West, not really going anywhere. I think Jazz fans are just like, all right, let's get to the draft lottery, right? That's what this whole season was about. We're trying to get to the draft lottery. So let's do a little bit of planning with them. Let's take a look at what they have right now, where they're going, and start to do a little bit of planning. We're going to take a look at the roster, their draft picks, their cap situation. We're going to add some analytics to it. This is a new feature to things. We're bringing in some EPM stats to take a look at. And then we're going to make a big board, right? I just use this as an example. We're going to make their draft big board, their trade targets, their free agent targets. We're going to do that by looking at things like the NBA trade machine on fans, but we're going to make our big board here. We're going to use like mock drafts to kind of help figure out, okay, who can we realistically target? We're then going to go to Spot Track, take a look at some free agents that we should be looking at. That way, by the time we get to Ideal Offseason, we've got some ideas flowing, right? And more so, I can spend some time in spreadsheets because I think that that's fun. So hey, I know that was a longer intro, but it's the first video in the series. I'll just reference back to it for other ones. But hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. Go show some loves to some of the other videos in the series, especially these Do They Fit in the NBA videos. These a lot of times get claimed for copyright and everything, so they're my favorite things to do on the channel, though. People seem to be loving them. We're really just breaking down prospects, having some fun with them. It's educational and funny, in my opinion at least, so it seems like people are loving them. Go show them some love and support. But anyway, let's talk about the Utah Jazz offseason. So there's a lot of numbers on the screen right now. It's very overwhelming. I know. I'm going to break it down for you guys. Just relax. So a couple things to take a look at here. We've got a depth chart. This is just my kind of worked out depth chart based off of like the talent that's currently on the team. Yes, I know Utah Jazz fans. Isaiah Collier's been starting over Keontae George. Wow, you're a really smart kid. You know that? Wow, so smart. Go enjoy your summer, okay? Now let the big boys talk. Keontae George is just better. He just says, hey, if you see Isaiah Collier gets like 10 assists every game. Yep, and like 7 turnovers. Just relax, okay? We're going to get to everybody, right? But this is kind of just my depth chart so that we can kind of view everything. We've got draft picks listed here with some of the contingencies that are included with them. We've got a salary cap space tracker right up here, which I think is important to note, kind of the 4 different levels of it. For those of you that aren't familiar, there's 4 different levels to the NBA kind of cap, if you would. There's general cap space, which is just like, hey, kind of once you get like, this is just every sports team has to deal with this, right? There's a cap number. Then there's a luxury tax number. Once you pass this, so like when this number becomes 0, your team becomes a lot more expensive to be run. Then the NBA put in these first and second aprons. These first and second aprons were implemented because the NBA didn't want star players being traded as much as they were in previous years. And then the Dallas Mavericks said, screw that, we're trading Luka for nothing. Not nothing, but you guys understand, right? But so the aprons have failed us already. already, but no, the aprons are in place that star players can't just be traded willy-nilly. They make it incredibly difficult to make moves, and it's to try to bring a little more balance to the NBA. I think they're great. So once these hit zero, then your team kind of gets locked into place. They become extra expensive. It's really hard to make any roster moves. So something you want to avoid unless you're really confident. The Utah Jazz, not a very expensive basketball team. They're not very good, so they're fine. They're still far away from the luxury tax space even, which is really, really good. So good for the Utah Jazz in this one. Then we've got some roster stuff going on around here. Let me explain all of this. Roster spots left, really simple to understand. You get 15 guys on a roster. They've got 14 like full-time, like guaranteed salaries on their books right now. Now you're going to see some offensive and defensive overalls and a general overall. We've incorporated EPM stats into this. What are EPM stats? It's something that I bring up often on the channel. You guys have probably seen me pull up dunks and threes here. For those of you that don't know, I run a basketball like statistics and consulting company, and I work for NBA through Division I, through overseas, teams like that, right? EPM is kind of our best way of assuming or trying to attribute a number to how good somebody is at offense, defense, like overall win shares, and just overall as a player right now. If you looked at EPM, it would tell you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, probably the best player in the NBA, then Jokic, and then it kind of continues to drop from there. Stats are never a perfect science, but this is probably the best thing that we have. You probably think that that's really simple, but these are incredibly complicated stats that they've put into a really simple number. So look at this like an overall on 2K is how you should probably look at this. And what I've done here is given the Jazz an offensive overall, a defensive overall, and a general overall, right? And we have that for each and every player. That way we can analytically take a look at each guy, right? And again, the data is not perfect. I will never tell you that data is perfect, but it's something to look at, and this tells a pretty good story. It really does. We've also got options to look at going into this next season, whether or not we're going to keep players on, how many years are left on contracts, what's their salary, and then we have a goal over here, and this is something that we're going to fill out together. Are we going to keep players? Are we going to release players? Are we going to put them on the trade block? What are we thinking we might want to do with them? So we're starting to do some planning, right? We're starting to do some planning with these guys and say, okay, maybe Lauri Markkanen, maybe we don't think we need him. We're going to cut him. We're going to cut Lauri Markkanen, he's ass. Get him back out of here, send his ass to Finland. That's, spoiler alert, that will not happen, Utah Jazz fans. Lauri seems to love it there, and we're gonna keep him around, most likely. But that's an activity we're going to go through together. But where I'd like to start is with the draft picks. Utah Jazz, not very good right now. Dead last, right? Dead last in the West. Intentionally so, right? This team, which I give the Utah Jazz a ton of credit. I think that this team is playing things very smart. An article was put out like a couple weeks ago or something. It was actually shared as well in the Discord, which I appreciate you guys doing. Go join the Discord. Link is in the description. We're talking hoops all the time on there. But the article was basically saying the Jazz have just been kind of going through a really slow teardown the past couple years. They're like, look, we're not even really rebuilding. We're just waiting for a time to strike. They see this a really elite 2025 draft class as their chance to finally strike and start a rebuild. They're like, look, we're going to hold on to some talent. We're going to acquire a bunch of draft picks, which is what they've done. And they've got a lot of solid basketball players on the team. And they're like, okay, now that there's some good players on the board, now we start. We're going to go get our 1A option, hopefully one of the guys in this draft, and then we'll start to build. Everything else has just been kind of, okay, let's see how they do. Let's figure out if they are a part of our long-term plans and things of that nature. So a lot of credit to this team. I think they're doing things the smart way. I know there's a lot of people that look at rebuilds like it's NBA 2K and they just trade all the players, get all the draft picks, and then they're like, oh, well, if you just draft Cooper Flag, he'll just become a 95 overall, and then we win the finals. That's not how it works at all, right? The Jazz are smart, and they realize, look, I don't want to just draft Cooper Flag, throw him on this team with a bunch of bums, and then think that everything's going to be okay. No, you need vets on the team. You want people that are going to help guide him. You want people that are going to take pressure off him right away. That's going to help build him up in real life, right? You hear all the NBA vets talk about it all the time, and they're not just complaining because they want jobs. It's like, no, we found success in the NBA because there were vets to kind of kick our ass when we first got to the league and keep us in line, teach us things, right? You need people like that if you want to run a good organization. The Jazz have done this historically. The Spurs do it all the time, right? Like the good organizations do that, and that's why they don't stay down for very long. extremely strategic. But, we're here to talk about more numerical type stuff. So looking at draft picks, some of the picks not listed here do have protections. Like the Jazz technically have traded their pick in some capacity this year. That's why it's not listed on the list, but they're going to have their first round pick this year. It's fine. They're going to have their first round pick. They also have a Clippers second round pick, and then they have a really complicated second round pick. Then we have a lot of first round picks going forward because of the Donovan Mitchell trades, the Rudy Gobert ones. You've got a Lakers pick coming up here. You're going to see some other ones down here where they just start to get into some of their own picks again. They have a Suns first round pick in 2031. They've got a good collection of draft picks. They're ready to start getting going, and they also have a lot of tradable assets in some of these players, like a Colin Sexton, a John Collins, hell, Lauri Markkanen, if you really want to. That could get you a lot more draft picks going forward. By the way, if I sound really congested, I am still extremely sick and pre-recording this. It's 3:14. I'm about to go on a business trip, basketball related, so I'm just trying to get you guys some stuff beforehand while I'm sick, so just be aware, okay? Yeah, so that's what's going on with draft picks and with the salary cap space. So let's go take a look at the team in and of itself. Lauri Markkanen didn't have the best season overall for his standards. You could tell they weren't really rolling him out for a ton of minutes this year. It was kind of okay, this season was very much, let's let the young guys play as much as possible, see what we got with them. We know that Lauri Markkanen's good at basketball. We know Walker Kessler's good at basketball. We know what there is in John Collins and Colin Sexton. Do we want to trade them now? Do we want to trade them later? That's kind of what they were looking at there. But Lauri Markkanen still in the top 10 percentile offensively. Defensively, not the greatest season. Again, this whole season, it wasn't good defensively. And by the way, these stats are pretty individualized, and it takes into account a lot of things, even how tired somebody should be in these stats. It's pretty intense. So not the best season defensively. Again, not a season where too much is being put into it anyway, so I'm not tripping about that. I'm fine with Lauri Markkanen defensively more often than not. Overall, great basketball player. Funny enough, not even the highest overall on the team, which is kind of interesting to take a look at in the advanced analytics. John Collins, another really good offensive season, an above average defensive one. John Collins, good basketball player, able to stretch the floor a little bit more than usual, still a lob threat, awesome basketball player, could be an amazing trade piece. I guess I should start rating these guys right now. I definitely want to keep Lauri Markkanen. I'm going to say John Collins is on the trade block, and that's solely because he plays the same position as Lauri Markkanen, and we know that there's a lot of forwards at the top of the draft that we would love to take, right? So we could very easily get a Cooper Flag in the draft, move Lauri down to the 4, move Cooper to a 3, or whichever order you think. So that puts John Collins on the trade block, right? Then we have Colin Sexton. Great offensively, always bad defensively. That's always his thing. I know the mentality is always Colin Sexton is a really good defender, and that's mostly because he just tries really hard. Not the best defender overall, though. So much like John Collins, we just have some other young guys that are interesting. So we're not saying we have to get rid of them or anything. We're going to put them on the trade block, right? Jordan Clarkson, super 6-man type of guy, right? Always going to be solid offensively, pretty bad defensively this year. Literally 7th percentile. If you guys don't understand this, by the way, 100 would be best, 0 would be worst. So Jordan Clarkson, one of the worst defenders in basketball this year. Actually, quite a few of those guys in this roster. It's not a surprise they're in last place. He's definitely going on the trade block. Somebody could use a super 6-man, right? KJ Martin, a guy that they acquired via trade, he actually doesn't have a guaranteed contract, and $8 million. Look, he was given this contract to try to be used as a trade piece, as a way to try to manipulate these aprons. He's a lob threat. He's a good effort guy, but clearly you can see just not that impactful of an NBA player. Essentially, he's being given an 18 overall. I don't think we need to keep the $8 million around, so I think that that's going to be a person that we look to release in the offseason, unless we need him as a part of a trade piece, but I don't remember what the exact date is. I think it's somewhere in June. You have to guarantee his contract, but not needed. Taylor Hendricks, promising young player to say the least. His career started off a little bit rough with the team, and then it kind of got going a little bit towards the end of his rookie season. Then this year he got hurt really early on. He's got a team option. I don't see a reason why you don't keep him around. This is a young building team. Definitely want to keep him around. Again, we didn't see much of him this year at all, so don't worry about the stats too much right now. He's young. We're still developing this guy. Cody Williams, first round pick from this last year. Oh my gosh, a 0.2 overall. Cody Williams has had it's been a bad rookie season. We knew he was going to be a project. I didn't anticipate he'd be this much of a project. There were literally times out there where he walked away with no rebounds, no assists, no shot attempts, no nothing. And I'm just oh my gosh. And even defensively, he wasn't good. So look, no reason not to keep him around, but we're going to do it anyway because, you know what, he's young. All right, next guy we got on the list is Walker Kessler. And again, he's coming in at that highest overall for us this year. And again, analytics tell us a picture. It's not a perfect picture. Is Walker Kessler the best player on this team? No. Lauri Markkanen is the best player on this team. We understand that, right? Walker Kessler, though, is probably more valuable than you realize, though. Like, one of the field goal percentage leaders in the NBA, so he's very, very effective at what he does. He may not have a very, like, deep bag, per se, in terms of, like, offense, but he's contributing really, really well at what he does. And then defensively, he's a monster, right? 93rd percentile, so he brings him up to, like, an 89.4 overall. We want to keep this guy. He's got a team option. Definitely keeping him around, right? Young guy, playing well. Again, cheap contracts as we get past this point. I mean, we're not keeping this $8 million most likely, but then cheap. Love it. Keontae George. Very interesting young player. I was very surprised with how well he played in like his rookie season. He came in and we saw someone that was actually a pretty good distributor. The turnovers were a little bit high. We kind of expect that. I kind of see him as more of a combo guard, but the scoring was really starting to come around for him. And defensively, he is bad. Quite literally the worst defender in the NBA. Zero overall. So, like, defensively, he's rough, right? He's very, very rough, and that's okay. Offensively, we've got something going on right now. We've got room to grow, right? Is he our point guard of the future? Probably not ideally, right? But we've got something here. There is something here. You've got a 73rd percentile offensive player. We got to figure it out defensively, but it's worth keeping around. So we got a team option. I'd like to keep Keontae George around. Svi Mykhailiuk, kind of just a 3-and-D wing. The wing position is pretty rough for us, right? Markkanen's kind of filling in at that spot. You got Svi. You got Bryce Sensabaugh, who's like kind of meh, like whatever. And then Cody Williams, who, you know, we went over Cody Williams already. Where is he? Our 0.2 overall. Svi Mykhailiuk does not have a guaranteed contract. I'm going to say that we don't have to keep him. I'd rather get like some vets in on this team or something like that for the rookies that we would like to bring in this year, because it looks like we're going to have a couple of them. So for Svi Mykhailiuk, I'm probably going to let him go. I don't need to pay him. I feel like he might have options on like each of his years, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to keep him as like a trade piece, but I don't think anybody really needs him. Kyle Filipowski, rookie from this year. Offensively, much more interesting than I expected. For whatever reason, he really likes to run in during the fast break, and he's been pretty effective overall. I will say, from a guy that watches quite a bit of Utah Jazz film, nobody guards this guy whatsoever, right? So something to keep in mind, but we got a big body that's showing some promise on offense. Physically, it's just not there. Like, he's not playing any defense really at all. Kind of gets bullied pretty often. He's not even a strong rebounder always. So we've got some stuff to work on. But again, young player, there's no reason not to keep him. Johnny Juzang, I don't get Johnny. I really don't. Like, he's kind of a forward. He's a little bit undersized. He's supposed to be a pretty good shooter. But I don't know. I don't really see the point of keeping him long term. I don't see what we're really trying to develop him towards. Like, it feels like a not quite athletic enough 3-and-D type of guy, but the defense is nowhere close right now. So I feel like he's going to be another guy that ends up getting released, at least in my opinion. You could talk me into him. Bryce Sensabaugh, interesting young player. Again, defensively, pretty rough overall. Better than some of the other guys, but still very rough. 4th percentile out of the whole NBA. We're seeing a little bit of something offensively. You don't get to see like elite shooting out of him, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure Bryce Sensabaugh, and I want to pull up this number to be sure, is like a little bit below league average for that, if I can actually spell Bryce Sensabaugh correctly. Where do we come in for 3-point percentage this season? 3-point. Oh! No, I am mistaken. Okay, I'm glad I checked. We are having a good 3-point shooting season. Well, that's very exciting. I was curious why his offense was that high. Okay, fair enough. We are hitting a good amount of our threes. We were going to keep him regardless because, you know, young guy, team option, he's only $2 million. Like, we don't have anyone else at the forward, really, so we're going to keep him. But, well, that's encouraging. Let's try to teach some defense, man. Let's try. And then Isaiah Collier, the other rookie from this season, he was a first-round pick this year, late first-round pick. Really interesting, like, athlete, like, short, stocky, but still, like, kind of fast and bouncy and strong. Commits a lot of turnovers. Clearly doesn't have a great understanding for the game of basketball, but he's putting up some really interesting stat lines. If you looked at his numbers here, they would tell you he's having a really, really bad NBA season. It's certainly picked up. When he started the year, he was like 3rd percentile here and like 3rd percentile here. He's been picking it up quite a bit ever since they put him in the first 5, because they're like, hey, let's see what the kid can do, right? That's pretty much how they're treating it. And they're like, we're kind of trying to lose some games, but we want to see what the young guy can do. We're seeing a lot of assists. We're seeing some decent scoring, even if it looks kind of clunky at times, but we're seeing a lot of turnovers as well. So it's still not good, but there's no reason not to keep him, right? So this is kind of how I see things. I think we're going to keep Markkanen. We're going to keep a lot of these guys kind of in the middle, this kind of young core that we have here. Not really a reason to keep Svi, Johnny, or KJ Martin. Like, you could talk me into specific reasons for them if you want to get really strategic, but don't see the need. And then we've got John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson on the trade block. I would say out of all of these, Colin Sexton, depending on who you draft, could be one that you might want to keep around. Jordan Clarkson doesn't feel necessary at all. John Collins, it feels like you should be able to get something solid. By the way, he has a player option, so he could just dip on his own. But if he stays 1 year, he could provide a lot of value for someone at a pretty tradable contract. So something to look for there. By the way, this table down here, this is going to be for ideal offseason, or if we want to throw other people like on this list. Like if you wanted to throw, I don't know, Rudy Gobert on this list, it would just kind of show you his numbers so that we could kind of compare and talk about where we could add a little bit more value to the team. But anyway, that's the current roster. Let's start to fill out our big boards. The first thing that we wanted to do, most likely, is I think we want to talk about some trade targets, right? If we go in terms of like order of operations, you can start trading as you get kind of close to the draft, right? They don't become official till afterwards, but we want to start looking at certain positions of need for us. And I think more often than not, that's going to come at the forward position, right? We need some help at the forward spot. We're not sure about Cody Williams and Sensabaugh. We might move John Collins. What I'd like to do is just take a look around the NBA and be like, hey, where can we go get some forwards? Where could we possibly go do that? If we take a look at the trade block, Kevin Durant, right? That's kind of expected. Rui Hachimura, maybe. Dalton Connect might be on the block. That could be an interesting guy if we want to get involved in like a 3-team trade. We don't know how much long-term they want him on the team. Jonathan Isaac, Tobias Harris, Paul George. Maybe the Sixers get into a spot where they say like, hey, you know what, we are trying to sell off this team. I think that'd be a little bit dumb, but we just need someone to kind of take Paul George for us. Maybe they go and do that. Interesting enough. But obviously, depending on how the draft goes, we might address the forward spot anyway, so I think we're probably going to be looking for more so role player forwards, and that's kind of what I'm looking for on like this first list, to be like, hey, anybody really sticking out to us? And I'm not seeing anybody in particular, so we're probably just going to have to go through these teams and be like, hey, who's got forwards for us that could be available in the offseason that we think we could maybe want to target? And then we might try to find like a veteran guard or something too, but otherwise I think we're pretty good at like the bigs spot, at least for right now. I look at a team like the Orlando Magic, and I can't help but think like, hey, they need scoring guards. A Colin Sexton could be shipped off to them. Somebody that I would be interested in picking up if I was the Utah Jazz is Jet Howard. Again, younger forward, supposedly could be a good three-point shooter, right? If he got enough burn is kind of the theory. Brings good size, a decent athlete, like still things he needs to work on with his game, but I could see us taking on like a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in like a Jet Howard or something like that. So I wouldn't mind having one of them on the team. So I want to throw Jet Howard on the list first, and we'll reorder these as we see fit. But I think Jet Howard is a good starting spot. Ooh, I do have the picture for him. That's good. I like that. Okay, so Jet Howard's first on the list. Like, just looking through other teams that have a lot of people that could be tradable. Who else could we go and target? I don't really see the Hawks having anybody. Detroit and Tobias Harris, I don't necessarily see the need. The Pacers, do we take on like an Aaron Nesmith for them in some capacity? I don't know. I don't know what we would be sending them as a way to do that. So I don't know. Like the Knicks, probably not. The Celtics, Cavs, Bucks, probably not. The Miami Heat, maybe a Duncan Robinson. Maybe we get paid to kind of take on a Duncan Robinson. I could see something like that, as we just need some shooters, some people that can play the forward spot. We just want to send them over a new contract. Maybe they want a John Collins or a Colin Sexton. So I could see Duncan Robinson kind of being a nice role player to go after with that. He's got 1 year on the contract anyway. We're not locking ourselves into anything long term. So I think I want to add Duncan to the list as well. Alrighty, so there's Duncan. Where else could we go and look for things? Like the Chicago Bulls don't really have any forwards to give up. The Toronto Raptors Do they have somebody they want to give us? Doesn't necessarily look like it. They've got a lot of forwards on the team, but they seem keen on keeping each and every one of them for whatever reason. The Sixers, we've made a couple trades with them recently. Maybe they're trying to sell off a Kelly Oubre. Like, Kelly Oubre defensively probably clocks in pretty high, does he not? Let's pull up Kelly Oubre here. Like, yeah, defensively like above average, offensively solid. Kelly Oubre feels like a nice talent for us to go try and add to this team. So what I think I want to do is I think I want to move Kelly Oubre kind of up on the list here. And again, the Sixers might be in teardown mode. So we bring Jet Howard here, and then I think I want to move Duncan Robinson here. Looking for a couple forwards. These are the couple kind of role-playing forwards that I think would be nice to have on the team for whatever rookie that we draft, right? Cool. Could be starters, could be bench players, not so sure. Now, I want to try and find a veteran guard. Where can we find a veteran guard just looking through these teams? Like the Pelicans? I wouldn't mind bringing in like a CJ McCollum. We have so much cap space, right? We could send them over a John Collins, who could be an interesting, like, solution for them at the center because he can jump out in space a little bit, but him and Zion should still be able to collect enough rebounds. I don't mind that. I don't mind taking on a CJ McCollum. Just a nice vet to have on the team for what'll be just one more season. Yeah, let's throw CJ McCollum up there. I'm gonna throw him just below Duncan Robinson. So I'm gonna put CJ McCollum here. We'll throw Duncan Robinson here. I don't think we necessarily have to fill out 5, but let's try and find like one more. Where else could I go for something like this? Portland's got a lot of guards. They have guards that we want, though I don't think necessarily we want an Anthony Simons. That's too much of a project still for us. The Spurs, the Suns. Do the Suns have something that they want to give us? Like a Misic isn't exactly what I'm looking for, so I don't know about that. The Dallas Mavericks could be selling off everything at this point. Looking at this, I'm looking at like Spencer Dinwiddie, no. Jaden Hardy, no. Again, I want like an older guard, if anything else. The Kings have like no point guards. The Clippers, not really. The Timberwolves, not really. The Warriors, no. The Rockets, do we get in on a Fred VanVleet type thing? Do they want to move him? I don't know. I don't know what they want to do with Fred VanVleet. I don't know. The Lakers, not really. Nuggets, not really. The Grizzlies? Who do the Grizzlies have that we could target at point guard? They've got to have a couple. So they got Ja. And then after that, there's like a Scottie Pippen Jr., which he at least plays like a very mature style basketball. I kind of like the Scottie Pippen call. So let me put him on the list. He's cheap. Maybe they're trying to sell him off for something. If it's easy to get him, great. If it's not, it's not. But I'd like to have Scottie Pippen Jr. on the list. Is there any way that we have his picture actually on here? Nope. Whoa, look at that movie magic. Where did he come from? It's Scottie Pippen Jr. Cool. All right, now we move on to the draft, right? That's kind of the next sequential thing that we want to move on to. Who is our draft big board, right? And here's how I kind of want to attack this. So we've got a mock draft simulator right here. I just went by whoever, like the current draft odds, that's how things worked out, right? So we're currently most likely going to get the 2nd overall pick. Actually, I don't think that's statistically how that works at all. I think we have just as likely of a chance as the 1, 2, and 3. But for right now, we're the 2nd worst team. We get the 2nd pick. So we want to pick 5 guys that we think could fall within that range, right? And I think how we want to do it is we kind of want to go through like a mock draft to be like, hey, so the Wizards probably take Cooper Flagg, right? But within reason, Cooper Flagg should still be on our list because like we presume that guys can slide up and down a couple places. That's how we're going to treat things. It's a little bit harder when it's at the top to visualize that, but for the sake of the video, that's kind of how we want to treat things. So I feel like Cooper Flagg, we want him on the big board, right? He's probably option number 1. You guys know that I'm an Ace Bailey guy, right? I think that he should be on the, I think I would like him like first. Here, I should clarify. If I was a GM, there's no way I wouldn't pick Cooper Flagg, right? There's too much other stuff that goes on. He's clearly the consensus pick by them. I personally like Ace Bailey more. I do. I like them all. Like, I think they're all going to be like elite guys, these kind of first couple, but just kind of saying, right? I think Cooper Flagg's probably the first choice because you just kind of have to at this point. Then you have Ace Bailey. And then I'll say Dylan Harper. We're going to put him 2nd on the list just because, again, that's where we're kind of going with things. I don't think we've gotten established enough point guard on this team to where if we had the 2nd pick and Dylan Harper was there, we wouldn't pick him, right? You can't tell me that you feel that confident in Keontae George's last place defensively performance, and then Isaiah Collier, who's damn near down there with him, and say, this is my point guard of the future. Like, you could be hopeful about it, but it's not like we're not going to take Dylan Harper, right? And then I know this seems pretty basic, but we're going to put VJ Edgecombe next as like a potential all-star, in my opinion, going forward. And then who's the fifth guy? That's where a lot of things get interesting. I'm going to put Yaku Chones there personally. If you want to put Trey Johnson there, cool. If you want to put Maluak there, I'd probably say not for the Jazz because I think we're pretty established at the big position, but I like Yaku Chones fifth on my list personally. This is how I would do things if I was the Utah Jazz. So what I want to do is kind of fill out my big board like this. I want Cooper Flagg, and then I want Dylan Harper if Cooper Flagg is already off the board. If we fall in the draft, okay, fine. Next we want is Ace Bailey. Rutgers has really shitty pictures, by the way. Rutgers, do better, all right? You didn't put any good talent around these guys, and so now I don't get to watch them in March Madness, and you went and got them shitty-ass pictures. It's not a good look. Then we got VJ Edgecombe there. That's our next option, and if somehow we fall to 5, then we'll take Yaku Chones, which would be a disappointment, obviously, because this season was about getting future All-Star. I'm not sure I see future All-Star in Yaku Chones. I think I see an immediate starter, and that's how good this class is, because normally you don't get that far down to 5 and even feel confident about that right away. But I see 4 stars right here. I think I see 3 All-NBA and then 1 potential All-NBA here, and that's awesome. Like, great draft class. But we want one of these guys, preferably one of these 3. But I'd still be happy with VJ because I think he'd be really good. So that's our big board right now. That's how we would hope that the draft goes. If we were the number 2 pick, we would take Dylan Harper. If not, move on down the list. That's how we're viewing things, right? So that is our draft big board. Now we move on to free agency, right? Free agency, what do we need to add around these guys, right? So let's just say, hypothetically, right? Let's just say hypothetically, we cut KJ Martin from the team, right? We don't got KJ Martin on the team no more. He is gone. We're also going to say that, who else did we release? Svi Mikhailuk is gone, so that money is off the books. We also got rid of Johnny Juzang. He's off the books, right? We've got 3 roster spots, right? Is it counting Kelly Oubre? Okay, it is. Let's say we managed to get a Kelly Oubre somehow. How would we be able to, like, logically do that? We're not going to actually mock out the trade. That's what ideal offseason is for, right? But if we were able to go get a Kelly Oubre, maybe I need to pull Fanspo back up just so that we can actually go through this. This is my first video of the series, so I'm making this up as I go. And you guys are going to be captured in watching this, because that's what I expect for you to do. But no, let's go back to the trade machine and just kind of logically think through who would we have to give up to go get like a Kelly Oubre if he's at the top of our board. Where are the Sixers? They're all the way down there for God knows what reason. Kelly Oubre, $7 million. Okay, fair enough. Like, we could move over like a Jordan Clarkson and then maybe take back something else in return. That's probably the way that we go about it, right? Because we could take back even like an Eric Gordon, maybe? Or is KJ Martin not, or is Jordan Clarkson not going to work? Do we have to trade somebody else to make this happen? I don't know. It depends on what they're wanting to do for this. So this trade a little bit more complicated. Let's go back to our list. Maybe it's just Jet Howard, right? So let's say in this case, we moved Colin Sexton. We were able to get Jet Howard, and then what else, right? What else did we take back from the Magic? Maybe like a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or something? That'd be kind of cool. Get a vet like that. It's 2 years. Who cares anyway? Like, he's not helping the Magic out at all. So maybe we add, say, Jet Howard. So we've got that kind of offense with us now. We also got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope that we've added to the team. Actually, I'm going to put them up here instead. That's how I'm going to do things. I'm learning the series as we go. We're going to put Jet Howard up here. So he's gone there. And then we're going to also say we took back Kentavious Caldwell-Pope here. So we still have $27 million in cap space, right? And again, I didn't test that trade. This is all hypothetical, so just relax, right? We got rid of Colin Sexton. We brought in Jet Howard, who we're hoping is going to become something. I know the numbers don't look great. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is going to help us out defensively, and then hopefully he's not quite as ass as he has been offensively, even though we kind of predicted that would happen when he went to the Magic. We still have 3 roster spots to fill, and let's say that we took a Dylan Harper or something. I think that's where these guys go. I don't have stats for them, but let's just say Dylan Harper's on the team. we got 2 spots that we kind of need to fill. We're looking at the squad right now. I don't know, maybe we go like a Dylan Harper here or something. That could kind of work. And then maybe we put George here as a combo guard. I'd be curious to see that. He's not on the roster anymore. He's not on the roster anymore. He's not on the roster anymore. And I'm just kind of updating this depth charts that you guys can kind of see what we're talking about. If you guys are just like listening to this in the car, by the way, this is probably really confusing. This is a much more visual series, right? That's what this is. So get your bowl of cereal, sit your ass down, and watch some AVC basketball clips. But we got 2 roster spots left. We want to figure out who are our free agent targets. So going over to the free agents right here, this is it. These are the possible people that could become free agents. Looking at the team right now, maybe we make another trade, maybe we don't. We still know that we probably want some help at the forward spot. We got Dylan Harper potentially in this scenario. We'll probably, again, put down some guards just in case we didn't end up with a Dylan Harper or something like that. But we want to, again, kind of focus on the forward spot. We need some help there. So what I would like to do is let's just go forwards in general. Who's available? There's a player option for Chris Middleton. Maybe he gets bought out, but otherwise probably not. Duncan Robinson, there is an opt-out for him. I doubt it. Dorian Finney-Smith has a player option. I doubt it. Chris Boucher, Joe Ingles, Kelly Oubre player option. If Kelly Oubre did become a free agent, I kind of want to double up on him here. So we're going to put Kelly Oubre here as well. Like, if he thinks that he can go get that, then fine. By the way, I'm quickly realizing that I don't have the spreadsheet set up to where I could pull Kelly Oubre in from that, but this is how we can make up for it. Let's take Kelly Oubre, put him right there. Look at that. I fixed it. Spreadsheet magic. So Kelly Oubre, potential free agent target as well. We just like Kelly Oubre. Or should I not do that? Should I put different names and we just know we want Kelly Oubre in general? Let's do that. Let's be more creative than that because that's what we do on the AVC channel. Trey Lyles, Jonathan Kuminga. He's a restricted free agent. I'm not big on Kuminga personally, but that's an interesting guy to go after, right? That'd become another development thing for us. We'll come back to that. Zaire Williams, not too high on that. There's a club option there. There's an unrestricted free agent in Jake LaRavia. That could be an interesting one. Jake LaRavia, I feel like, is someone you could get for a value because he's actually performing decently well there. So I want to put Jake LaRavia on the list as a potential forward for things. I view him more as a power forward, but, you know, is what it is. Do they not have Jake LaRavia on here? Okay, I need to reorganize these spreadsheets at another time. So let's put Jake LaRavia there, and we do have a picture. That's stupendous. What other free agents do we possibly want? Jaime Jaquez Jr. is a club option. They're definitely going to keep him around. Taurean Prince is an unrestricted free agent. I have to imagine that he just wants to go to contenders, but I like the idea of Taurean Prince. Just 3 and D. Maybe we give him one of his last big paydays or something like that, right? Because he's playing well this year. We're a team that's willing to give Taurean Prince a good amount of money. There's Taurean Prince on our big board. Let's try and find some guards now, right? I think we want to maybe try to find some guards. So let's go here. Who's available here? If Fred VanVleet doesn't get picked up, I would love to have Fred VanVleet on my team. Just be a good vet. We'll pay him again because we've got the money. Just, again, help develop the young guys like he's doing so well in Houston. Give me Fred VanVleet on this thing. So, again, I have to change up how my spreadsheet works. We're going to move Fred VanVleet over here. That's a potential target for us. How high do I want him on my list? I think I want Taurean Prince above LaRavia here. So let's do it that way. I think that's how I want to set things up. So let's put Jake LaRavia. Cool. Then we'll have Fred VanVleet here because, again, we're operating on the premise that maybe we got Dylan Harper or something. D'Angelo Russell, not a bad option to go get right away. Malcolm Brogdon would be a great option for us. I like the idea of Malcolm Brogdon a lot, actually. Dennis Schroeder. Ooh, Schroeder, whenever he's just the starting point guard, is kind of cold. I kind of like that. I feel like, and again, we could pay him a decent amount. Like, I don't mind that at all. I'd rather have Fred for the development purposes, but let's say we ended up with an Ace Bailey or a Cooper Flagg, and we needed the point guard. I'd like to have Dennis Schroeder on here. So let's put Schroeder up on there. Cool. Maybe one more forward to kind of round things out. That's kind of how I want to attack this. So let's see. Who else could we possibly go get? Jayshawn Tate is a unrestricted free agent. Really? Really? Okay, can I see some Jayshawn Tate numbers? Actually, let's take a look at Jayshawn Tate. Yeah, it's all the defense, right? Elite defender. Not really something that we have on the team. Could be someone we get for cheap. He's not the biggest guy in the world, which is, you know, somewhat of a concern for me. Because where's Jayshawn Tate sizing out as right now? Is he 6'4" only? I'm waiting for the page to load. He is... Where is it on here? Do we have like anything that says actual height on here? He is... I couldn't find it on that page. I'm just pulling up here. Yeah, he's 6'4". I don't necessarily love that. I like the idea of the defense, so maybe that's not the option we want to go with. I don't know. Let's keep looking just a little bit further. I want to keep looking, see if there's someone else that could be of interest. Yabusele, more of a big than I'd prefer. Caleb Houston, not really. Jabari Walker, Lindy Waters, like there's got to be some other decent players around here. Torrey Craig, solid vet to have on the list. I could totally see myself going after a Torrey Craig. I don't know though. Lindy Waters, I don't mind Lindy Waters for just being the floor spacer that he is. Where does Lindy Waters come out like defensively this season? I can't imagine it's very high. No, not at all. And I know the offense isn't that great either, but I'm down for just like a floor spacer, and it doesn't have to be like an elite talent. Josh Minot has a club option. They might not bring him back. He could be a guy to look at. Otherwise, I'm not seeing a whole ton else. One of the other guys I did see who could maybe play like some small forward-ish type minutes for us it's currently filtering right now, but I know Tim Hardaway Jr. is on the last year of his deal, and he's got decent size. Matisse Thybulle is a player option. Pat Connaughton. I'm just looking at some of these other guys. Malik Beasley is an unrestricted free agent. I'd love him. Amir Coffey. Oh, yeah, let's go get Amir Coffey. I like Amir Coffey as a guy because offensively, he should be pretty, like, efficient overall. A little bit below average, but you get one of the better 3-and-D guys that, maybe not defensively, he's not that great, but, like, get a little bit of ball handling from him, a true pro. I like Amir Coffey being on the board, so let's go with Coffee Shop. I like Amir Coffey. And all right, I know that was the first video of this series. We're kind of just feeling things out. The series will smoothen out as I kind of figured out. I kind of just made all this shit up on the fly anyway, but I think this was a fun activity. So if we go and we look at kind of what we're looking to do, we had a couple players that we maybe wanted to cut. We figured out what our draft board looks like, which is pretty basic, all said and done, right? We want the top end talent. We figured out a couple trade targets. We've got some forwards we're looking at here, and like Kelly Oubre, Jet Howard. Maybe we go trade for a veteran guard. I think it's clear we could use a veteran guard on this team no matter what. A couple other veteran forwards we had on there, like Amir Coffey, Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson could be especially interesting, like I mentioned, because maybe we could get like a second round pick with him because of how much his contract is. But we've got options here. I like this big board. I don't think the goal next year is to really win a ton of basketball games. It's to take one of these hopefully top couple guys, put some other decent players around him, and just hope that we have a positive season for whatever rookie that is. That's the goal, right? Lauri Markkanen should still be our best player. Walker Kessler will still be great. We'll see if John Collins and Jordan Clarkson are still on the team. Ideally, maybe not, but it's not going to be the worst thing if they're on the team either because they're good basketball players, right? So we just want to make sure that there's a soft landing pad for whoever it is that we take. But anyway, that's what I got for this. Please let me know what you think of this series. If it's too scattered, I won't do a bunch more. If you like these, then great. Obviously, the views and the likes will be the ultimate determining factor like anything else on the channel, but I appreciate you guys for choosing my channel to spend some time with some spreadsheets. Ideal offseason will be here before you know it. Let's go do comment of the video. Alrighty, y'all. Comment of the day comes from the Ace Bailey. Is he like NBA ready video? Again, these are my favorite videos to make on the channel. Go give them a watch. The comment comes from, how do I say this? Quitch3465 said, dude, I've been really enjoying these breakdown vids after a long day at the uni. I'd really like to see my current favorite prospect, Maluak, love from Australia. First of all, thank you. Very kind comment, but this always just gets me interested. What are you guys doing when you watch my videos? Leave me a comment on that. I want to know and I want to understand. I think it's so interesting. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always. Should be more up-to-date content after this video because I should be back from my trip by then. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always and talk later. Thanks so much. Bye.